Alexia Parks, founder and president of the social enterprise 23Zip and First Food Responders, has been called one of 50 people who matter most on the net by Newsweek magazine for her launch of VoteLink.com, one of the first electronic democracy systems on the internet, a UN mentor to Fortune magazine's #1 Social Impact Award winner in 2014. Alexia is an award-winning entrepreneur, best-selling author, and keynote speaker. Welcome and thank you for being here. Dr. Joel Rauchwerger, PhD, is a world expert in stress management, preventative medicine, health and fitness, and mental well-being. He served on the faculty at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas, taught future medical doctors and nurses, and also was on the medical team in the 1970s that delivered the boy in the bubble, the boy born without an immune system. With a specialty in bone marrow transplantation and stem cell research, Dr. Rauchwerger also worked in the surgery department of world-famous heart transplant specialist, Dr. Michael DeBakey. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks everyone for being here. I really appreciate it, and so does Alexia. 52 years ago, when I was on the faculty at Baylor College of Medicine at the Texas Medical Center, which is the largest in the world, I had a couple of memories, a couple of flashbacks. Number one was what you just mentioned. I was on that case of a little child that was born without the immune system. No T cells, no B cells, and they made a movie, and time-wise, John Travolta played the baby in the bubble. So we built a big plastic bubble there because he had no immunity against bacteria, viruses. So that was one flashback, but that's a very, very narrow bandwidth. The big flashback, and this relates to what Alexia is really doing now, is that there was a young medical student. Her name was Barbara Rupert, and she gave a paper in the library there, and the paper was this. This is big time. The paper was that 1970, we have 3 pounds of bacteria that live in the colon, period. That was the total extent of the knowledge, 1970. So the author speculated that maybe, perhaps, these bacteria that live in our colon have some important medical function. Today, it is far and away the hottest topic in nutrition, medicine, and psychiatry. And a whole new field of psychiatry opened up, and the name tells the story. Psychobiome, brain microbiome. And all it's doing is tracing the chemicals that are produced by the bacteria to feed the brain big time for mental health. And this is really the heart of what Alexia is doing. So what Alexia has done is really pure genius. What she has done is devised a special food program, okay, a food menu for feeding the microbiome. And of course, you probably know it's called the 23 Ingredients. Why 23? Because it has 23 different types of soluble fiber. The soluble fiber is the food for the microbiome. And when you feed them the soluble fiber, okay, you have a freebie. There's no charge. It's like the sunshine, okay? It'll start cranking out chemicals for mental health. Let me say that one more time. It'll start cranking out chemicals for your mental health. And the United Nations said the #1 health problem around the world is depression and anxiety. Guess what? Your microbiome, when you feed it correctly, will be cranking out chemicals to reduce anxiety and depression. So what Alexia did, she did over 1 million meals through grant money from the government, Southern California, okay? And she noticed a tremendous increase in the mental health of homeless people. Wow. Number 2 is not only the brain, let's not forget about the body. So is for the body, it produces short-chain fatty acids. I know it sounds a little technical, but Alexia's grandson here, the superstar, Daniel, he took chemistry at Stanford, so Daniel knows 2 carbons, acetic acid. Daniel knows 3 carbons, propionic acid. Daniel knows 4 carbons is butyric acid. That's the rock star, butyric acid. That's how butter is named. And check out this. Butyric acid, again, produced freebie from the microbiome, will do what? New England Journal of Medicine, that's the best. It is your best protection against cancer of the colon, period. The cells lining the colon, they're called the colonocytes. Butyric acid is the #1 fuel for the colonocytes. Number 3, people my age, virtually 100%, have leaky gut. And leaky gut is just what the name says. The gut is leaking. Butyric acid is your best protection against leaky gut. And guess what? Strong correlation. You have leaky gut as a senior, chances are you'll have leaky brain. So that also feeds in to the mental health crisis and so forth. So is 95% of what we've done is mainly, not me, Alexia. So what she's done is this incredible, over 1 million meals, and the 23 ingredients is designed to be replete with many different types of soluble fiber for what? Especially mental health, but don't forget about the body. So this is really exciting, and the headquarters of the new movement in psychiatry, psychiatrists are very conservative, but they opened up a whole new field, as I mentioned, psychobiome, for feeding the microbiome correctly, and it's this free chemical factory that will churn out all these good chemicals for the body and brain. So there's 2 types of fiber. You want the soluble fiber, that's the food for the bacteria, but you also need the insoluble fiber, and what that does, it cleans you out. So what I'm going to do now is turn the microphone over to everyone's favorite person. Everyone loves Alexia. Is that true, Hillary? No doubt about it. In this fickle world, that's one thing you can count on. Everybody loves Alexia.
Joel and I met when I was 65 and he was 66. We moved in together the next week and began working on all these projects that he's described and I'm going to be talking about today. So I'll start by, I'm going to even have notes here because what I'm doing is bringing up some of the history of the million meal experiment, which was, I have to say, it's an unscientific experiment, but was funded by the government, and they allowed us and chose us specifically because we were focused on fresh, healthy, local sourced food. So I'll just start first with talking about the state of mental health in America. We know at a global level, mental health is a major crisis. But in America, there's about 500,000 people that are living on the streets, and of that population, almost 100% of those people have mental health issues. And typically what they do is turn to drugs in order to solve the problem of endless hours with nothing to do, no sense of purpose, no job, no place to live. And so that's an extreme example, that's almost 100%. But perhaps even more shocking is the fact that on college campuses, the percentage is not 100%, but it's 77% of students who are on college campuses report experiencing stress, anxiety, and depression. And of that group of 77%, 44, which is almost half, or more than half, say they are suffering from extreme anxiety and depression, and that enables them to go into the medical center and get treatment of a variety of different kinds, psychiatry, talk therapy, medication, and so on. And I had one person in particular, a student at CU, and I said, you're taking medication prescribed by the, by the health center. I said, can you take a look at the name? And we were on a Zoom call, she was out of state. And I said, can you take a look at the ingredients and side effects on the medication you're taking? And her eyes widened like saucers, and she was paused. And I said, what are you finding? She said, there's almost a page of side effects. And this was a CU student that was being prescribed medication, and she wasn't the only one. So that's shocking too. And the third state of mental health in America that is also shocking is that I've spoken in front of U.S. mayors before as a keynote at one of their winter conferences in Washington, D.C., and I hope to speak again this next January and be invited to speak as a keynote. What they just came out with a report yesterday that said that they did a survey of mayors, and the mayors represent cities of 30,000 and above. And what these 117 who did the survey, filled it out, said that the number one issue they're dealing with is depression among young people. So when you think about what Dr. Joel just said about the microbiome and how you can feed it specific foods that actually reduce stress, anxiety, depression, the solution is staring us in the face, and it's free, visually free. We all have to eat. The second part of that was that they also noticed that, and that was 88% noticed that depression was the number one on their list affecting young people in their community. So that was major. The second major one, which was like 89%, was that they didn't have the adequate resources, mental health resources, meaning they didn't have the talk therapy, the access to this, the access to psychiatrists. Perhaps it took 2 months to schedule a meeting to go into something where they would prescribe some medication. But the answer is very simple. To us, the solution is first food responders. So back in 2020, not that long ago, I, just pre-COVID, January of 2020, I set up a website that was simply a storefront that was showing happy cooks cooking fresh, healthy, homemade meals in their home kitchens. And I thought, well, nothing's going to happen, because moments after that, COVID hit. It started in in California and Boulder across the country. Everything was being locked down. If you remember, there were grocery stores, all the shelves were being emptied of food, and then they closed their doors and let their employees go. All of the restaurants closed, all of the, anything that had to do with food, anything that had to do with feeding people, like Meals on Wheels or Feeding America, anything that had an organization where they had to meet in a group in a kitchen, that got shut down because nobody knew where the virus was coming from. But then somebody sent them a link. Actually, it was a supervisor from District 5 in LA County, sent a link to their leaders, and I got 2 calls, one from LA County and one from Riverside County. And we ended up in Riverside for a number of good reasons, and they ended up giving us, we went from 0 revenue and a storefront and an idea for a business concept to $2.8 million in revenue that all went out through the program to produce and deliver these 1 million meals. We also used that opportunity to lift 17 young women out of poverty by providing them scholarships. And that training program that we did online, again, nobody wanted to meet face to face, became the basis for our first food responders training program, which is now a 30-hour, 2-week online training program with virtual mentorship and it runs continuously, starting this July. We did some testing, but beginning July, it's gonna run continuously, so that people can come in whenever they want, individually or as groups. And in just a few minutes, you can actually see a demo of the 23 ingredient app that was we created in order to partner with the training program, so it builds up guardrails around the food choices that you make, so you stay in the zone of fresh, healthy, anti-inflammatory meals that can actually, in this case, as I said, your body, when you eat the food, the favorite food that the microbiome loves, it's kind of like when you think about a keyboard on a piano, it has 26 keys, and yet it plays an infinite number of songs. When you think about the microbiome and feeding it the 23 soft soluble fibers, it is music to that, 50 trillion good bacteria across 5,000 species of bacteria that are good. And when you feed them that favorite food, they are going to sing their favorite song, which is like happiness and harmony. And so you do want to cater to that, realizing that your own body has a chemistry set, and when you feed it, you can actually also reduce, as Joel said, leaky gut. He used the term leaky brain. Does anybody know what leaky brain is? Alzheimer's. It also reduces obesity. There's an epidemic of that, especially in young children. And it also reduces the diabetes and, as he said, colorectal cancer. So there's about 100 different diseases that are autoimmune diseases related to leaky gut and irritable bowel. And this 23 ingredients, it was based on 50 years worth of research. Joel gives me the credit, but he spent 50 years. He has not been sick, not even a common cold, in more than 50 years. It's remarkable. And when I met him 14 years ago and moved in and started working together as partners, I've been in perfect health, and I'm a colorectal cancer survivor, high stage 3. So I was able to heal and get information from Dr. Joel that nobody else, no one in the surgery department, no one in the rest of the field knew anything about. And so he was the first person. I even dated an ER doc before I met him, and nobody knew anything about nutrition. So our programs do nutrition education, and they also do showing you how to actually prepare these meals, and also teach you food safety, so that those who love to cook, who want to contribute to creating zero hunger in America by 2030, and that's a goal of the White House. We were actually introduced by Riverside County leaders for that success with using 1 million meals twice a day, and the success was measurable. And it's all in the book. It's all in the new book that we're going to have up here at the front, First Food Responders. People are hungry. Feed them now. Here's how, and so we describe that. And now I'd like to bring Maddie. Maddie, if you come up to the front. Maddie is our hero, not just of the day. Maddie came, she was a graduate at CU Boulder last year, and she came and started working as an intern, and then became our graphic designer. And when we mentioned about this app, she said, I'd love to do that. So she became not only a graphic designer, and you'll see the design. We're going to have a 1-minute demo, but you'll also see the fact that she, Jill, she's going to use your seat. Yeah. Thanks. She's going to show how an app that we are going to be releasing June 15th works. And so that itself will have ramifications for people, because if you fill out the card, put in your name, it will, an email address, you'll be one of the very first people to receive a link, and you'll get 30 days of free application. I know we have my granddaughter Elena, 11 years old, who ran the Boulder in 1 hour and 5 minutes on her own. Her dad has his leg in the surgical fix. But now we're going to go to Maddie and her terrific demo that she did showing the app.
"23 Ingredients. Change your food, change your mood." Improve your mental and physical well-being with 23 Ingredients Meal Planner. Based on 50 years of revolutionary science, 23 Ingredients guides you towards improving your mental health by activating positive chemicals in the microbiome that promote mental health and well-being. Brought to you by 23Zip Inc., First Food Responders, a social good venture, and under the leadership of award-winning entrepreneur Alexia Parks. On the right side of the screen, we will walk you through the app with this prototype demonstration. Upon logging in, users are greeted by a positive motivational quote of the day. From here, you will be instructed on how to create delicious meals using the 23 ingredients. Once you have enjoyed your meals, you are ready to complete daily tracking. You will identify which of the 23 ingredients you consumed across 4 categories. You will then identify how your mental well-being is across 3 categories: energy, emotions, and mental acuity. Between tracking screens, users are supported by the 23Zip team with encouraging messages. Finally, if a user wishes to submit their weight, they may do so. Tracking is now complete. If you would like to write your own words of encouragement to yourself instead of the default messages provided by the 23Zip team, the app supports you in doing so. Our comprehensive tracking history allows you to measure the impact and success of the 23 ingredients throughout your journey. You may filter results by day, week, or month. Experience daily health and happiness. We hope to see you here soon.